Have you ever thought about writing your life story? Well, I had an experience the other day. I was going through lots of documents on my computer and found an audio file that I had recorded about 10 years ago. And I had forgotten that I recorded it, but I listened to it and I was just amazed at what I'd written. It was just the point before I started my business, 60andMe. And I was 64 years old and I was just in a complete moment of transition. I just had so much going on. I was thinking about writing a book. So I did this audio tape, and it was just outlining, what this book would be about. I was going to send it off to a publisher. But anyway, what was incredible was how I started it, and I wanted to share that with you so that it's just, you might think of doing something like this yourself. What I did is I said, this is a book. I'm going to write a book, and where do I start? Well, I could start and then I went through a number of scenarios. So I said, for example, well, I could start my life when I remember my first cruise, when I left England and we emigrated to Canada, and I was 8 years old, and we went on the Queen Elizabeth, and that was the beginning. Or I could say it was the time where I met my ex-husband on a train, and how our relationship evolved and how things went from there. I started. And then I kept going through these scenarios that, well, maybe I could start my story of my life when I lived in Boulder after my mom died, and I went there to start again. And I've got all kinds of adventures that happened with me and my dog Barney in Boulder. And so anyway, going through all those scenarios, I realized that I could actually start telling the story of my life at so many different places, moments that truly transformed me. Leaving my country, leaving England, going through the death of my mom, meeting, the person I was going to spend 20 years of my life with and who I love dearly. I could start anywhere. And it reminded me of that amazing quote by T.S. Eliot. And I say this in the audio file, which is, we shall not cease from exploration. And at the end of all our exploring, we find ourselves back where we started, but know the place for the first time. And so as I was going through all these different scenarios of how I would tell my life story, I brought it up to the point in 10 years ago, when I decided that I needed some help. And I reached out on Facebook to, just say, hey, is there any other women 64 out there that are kind of having trouble with this aging thing? And I got 20,000 people in a couple of weeks, and then 50,000, and now we have 500,000. But it was the story of how I started in 60andMe to actually deal with my own life development. And I guess that is, in a way, telling my story. That's it.